Just finding your way to a place that you're going to be comfortable to begin. So it might be resting on your back, but it might be seated. Wherever you are, just making sure you've got enough support around you and underneath you that you can really kind of settle in and begin to relax into the place that you've found. So you might want a cushion under your hips if you're sitting. You might want a cushion or a blanket under your head or under your knees if you're resting on your back. Hi, Anna. So we're just setting up to begin. And then as you find your way into the shape that's going to suit you best this morning, see if you can let yourself really kind of feel out into the edges of that shape. So be really aware of the surfaces of your skin. You might feel different temperatures in different parts of the body. You might be aware of different textures in contact with different parts of the body. And see if you can kind of imagine releasing out into those boundaries. So the skin really kind of contains the body and you can relax all the way into it. So there doesn't need to be quite so much holding on at the center. And let yourself be really aware too of your contact with the ground. So there's the surface that supports you from below. The weight of your body in contact with that surface. And an awareness of how that contact might shift and change as you breathe. So you might feel heavier or more supported as you breathe out, or perhaps as you breathe in. Give yourself some time to investigate that. And allowing the breath to be just however it is right now. So there's no need to breathe in any particular way. We might come a little bit closer towards the breath with our attention, just seeing if we can kind of settle down gently with it and observe without needing to intervene. So the breath comes and the breath goes. And you might notice lots of other things kind of asking for your attention right now. So there might be thoughts, there might be sounds, memories or images. And we don't need to put any effort or energy into pushing any of those things away. We can acknowledge them as they come. But we can practice shifting our attention back towards the breath again when we're ready. So we can gently let go of whatever it is that might have asked us to move elsewhere. And then with the next breath, just really feeling that breath in and feeling that breath out. It's a really simple practice. It's not always easy, but it's just coming back over and over again. And having the awareness that each time we do come back, each time we notice where our attention is and consciously choose where to place it in the next moment, we strengthen that capacity. And then let's take a few rounds of breath together in a way that's a little bit more directed, a little bit more conscious, and can help to signal to the body and to the nervous system that they are really supported here. So it's okay to let go of anything they don't need to hold on to. So to begin with, bring some attention towards your jaw and your face and see if you can really consciously soften and relax through the jaw. So imagine there's a little bit of space in between your back teeth. Your lips can be soft. The muscles around the ears can soften. And there's a little bit of space in between the lips. So we're going to breathe out through the mouth. If it's okay to breathe in through the nose, then you could breathe in through the nose at your own pace. And then just let the breath out through the mouth without any force or effort. And you can invite that gently sighing out breath through the mouth to be a letting go, putting down. Okay. And then when you're ready from here, if you've had the mouth open, then you could close the lips again. But see how soft the jaw can stay. So notice if when you close your mouth, you automatically bring a bit of tension or clenching into the jaw, and just invite that to soften back if it can. Great. So then we'll make our way, when you're ready, towards a seated position. But if you've been resting on your back for a while, you might want to hug the knees into the chest and have a little rock and a roll, kind of give yourself a bit of time to come round. And then finding your way up to a supported seat. If you've been sitting for a while, give yourself some time to kind of feel through the position that you're in and notice if you need to make any changes. Great. So we'll start off nice and tall. So bringing one hand to the heart and one hand towards the belly. And then imagining perhaps another hand resting lightly on your head, or maybe even doing it. It's quite useful for me sometimes. See if you can lengthen up into that top hand, the hand that's resting on your head, without lifting the chest up too much. So there's a lengthening through the spine, but not a hinging at the ribs. Great. And then resting the hands down wherever they're comfortable. And we'll find some movement for the shoulders. So bringing them up towards the ears, back and down. And if you were here last week and you found that image of the shoulder blades moving together and apart useful, then you might like to explore that again here. Just noticing how different the movement might feel if you really take the focus into the shoulder blades. And then see if you can circle in the opposite direction. Great. Which might feel a little bit less natural, whichever way you began was probably the more intuitive direction. And then let's rest the shoulders and we'll drop the chin down towards the chest. Consciously soften the jaw, make sure there's that space in between the back teeth. Breathe for a moment into the back of the neck. Noticing how the sensations change there through a couple of breath cycles. And then with a heavy head, we'll roll the right ear gently towards the right shoulder. Let the right shoulder stay relaxed down. Just take a moment here to open and close the jaw a couple of times. Notice if that changes the sensation through the left side of the neck. And then gently rolling chin back to center and over towards the other side. Let that left shoulder drop down. Maybe exploring some movement with the jaw if that felt good on the other side. And then in your own time, circling gently from side to side, but there's no rush. You might find some places along that journey where you'd like to pause and spend a little bit more time or breath. Allowing the movement to be as big or as small as feels good in your body right now. Great. And then through the next few rounds of breath, see if you can let that movement kind of emerge down the spine a little bit. So the shoulders might begin to follow the suggestion of the head. So you've got a little twist in there. The spine might begin to find some snaky movements. You can really just see what comes. We're not looking for any particular movement. Just inviting some more fluidity through the spine, the sides of the body, the shoulders. Great. Finding your way back to center, breathing the face back up in your own time. And if you've had your legs crossed, let's change the cross of the legs so that they're even. If you're sitting in a symmetrical position, feel free to just stay as you are. And we'll bring our hands out by our sides, sitting nice and tall, with the in-breath reaching all the way out and up, and with the out-breath bringing the hands down through center towards the heart. Expanding with the in-breath, gathering back to center with the out-breath. Finding the speed of your own breath. And the next time that we reach up, let's pause here and just reaching as high as feels comfortable. So especially if you've got a bit of sensitivity through the side, you might want to go kind of gently with this, use it as a chance to explore that area. We're going to reach gently up with one hand and then gently up with the other. So just inviting that space in between each rib on the sides to open up at its own pace. And the next time that we reach up with the left hand, let's bring the right fingertips to the earth. Creep them away from us a little bit. Softly bend the elbow so we don't have any weight in this shoulder. And then reaching gently with the left hand. Breathing for a moment here. And perhaps if it feels useful in your body, you could shift that top shoulder slightly forwards, allowing the head to roll forwards and then gently draw it back open. So we're kind of spreading that opening through the left-hand side a little bit more. You might find your way into some kind of lines of tension there. So you can always pause with them and breathe. And then coming back up to center. And bring the left fingertips to the earth, right fingertips to the sky. A soft bend to the elbow. And then reaching just enough to feel some opening. You don't have to find your biggest, strongest stretch here. And then if it felt good on the other side, maybe exploring that gentle rolling forwards and back. Right, coming back up. Hands down. A little roll through. See how everything's feeling. Great. And then from here, let's take our legs out. So we'll take the legs forward. So you could have a soft bend in the knees if that feels useful. Sometimes it might feel a bit tight in the hamstrings to extend the legs right out. And move back so you can see me a little bit better. Just taking the feet as wide as feels comfortable and giving yourself a chance to turn the feet open and closed. So we're just beginning to work into our hip joints a little bit with this. So even though you can kind of see the movement at the feet, it's coming all the way from the top of the hip bones and the hips. Great. And then from here, we're going to come into some movement for the spine. So if you're comfortable in tabletop position today, then you could find your way there. If you prefer to stay seated, then stay in a sitting position, and you can do the cat-cow movement from on a seat as well. So let the spine be nice and long. Take a breath in. And as you breathe out, wherever you are, we're going to round the spine. So drop the head forwards. Feel the back of the waist reaching back behind you. Imagine the shoulder blades broad and spread open, so the upper back is really broad. And then in your own time, unfurling the spine to a gentle arch, sliding the shoulders back, face floats up, heart floats forwards. And then taking your time to snake your way in between those two shapes. Noticing anything that might feel a little bit sticky or held on the way. You can always give that a little bit more time. Great, and then if you're in a tabletop position, taking your hands maybe a little bit further forwards and your knees slightly wider, and wherever you are, finding a little bit more kind of organic, snaky movement by shifting your weight from side to side, maybe circling the hips a little bit, inviting the spine, the shoulders, the neck to follow the lead. And then whenever you're ready, you can find your way towards child's pose from here. Hips back towards your heels, resting the head down, maybe supporting the head on your hands or your fists or a cushion. And if you're seated, you can find a seated version of child's pose by softly bending the knees and draping yourself forwards, heavy head. Wherever you are, taking some attention into the back of your body as you breathe. And seeing if you can imagine with each breath in, a little bit of space opening up between each of the ribs. As you breathe in and the lungs expand, the ribs gently hinge and open a little bit. And then as you breathe out and the lungs soften back down, the ribs gently settle back in towards each other. And that's a natural movement. We don't need to force it. And then when you're ready to move on, just check in with yourself and notice if it's feeling really good and steady and settling to be still in child's pose here. You might like to stay here and continue to rest. But if it feels like a bit more movement is going to feel good in the body, then we could come to our tabletop child's pose flow. So taking the hands forwards, breathing up towards the tabletop and breathing back down towards child's pose. Maybe staying with that, or maybe threading downward facing dog in, using an out breath to find your way there. Maybe spending a little bit of time to feel your way through and then beginning to follow the breath, inhaling to a tabletop and exhaling back towards child's pose. And then we're going to meet now in a position to play around with our balance a little bit. So if you're comfortable in a tabletop position, then find your way there. If you are needing to avoid taking weight in the wrists today, then you could begin on your back for this. I'll show you a different option in a moment. But from your tabletop position, we're going to focus on staying as steady as we can through the center of the body, and just begin by lifting the left hand. Take a breath, notice what's happening at the center of your body, and then come back down towards the earth. Seeing how steady you can stay at the center, we'll lift the opposite hand and bring it back down. So you might want to stay with that, really focusing on finding stability at your center while you float up one hand at a time. If it feels like a little bit more challenge for your balance would be helpful today, then you could explore taking one leg back and then the opposite hand. But if that becomes so wobbly that you kind of lose your center, it's more helpful to do a smaller movement and find stability within it. So do what feels right in your body. If you're avoiding taking weight in your hands, you can do a really similar movement from your back. Just reaching back through an arm and a leg. And that really connects you to the center, which will help to continue with your balance. Great. And then the last few goes through this, if you are in a tabletop position, is as you reach your hand forwards and your leg back, imagine that you're trying to reach for something a little further forwards and see what happens. It's really wobbly. And then come back, maybe reaching for something a little bit to the side. So we're just challenging our balance a little bit more by making it more dynamic. I've been watching Rowan doing this a lot this week, so I've been really quite inspired by his developing balance. Great. And then when you feel ready, let's come back to a seated position, just so that you can shake out your wrists if you've had some weight there. Shake out through your shoulders. Lovely. And then we'll find a high kneeling position from here. So we're going to find our way towards this position, so the thighs are vertical. If that feels a bit wobbly for your balance, you might want to be near a wall here, so you can just rest your fingertips lightly, or a chair or a sofa might be another good support. With your knees about hip distance apart. And then if your balance feels okay here, if you feel relatively steady in a high kneeling position, then you could experiment with closing your eyes and just noticing how the body might be really subtly, quietly shifting side to side, forwards and back, to help you find your balance here. Because it's not such a familiar position. Great. And then with the eyes open, we'll take a few breaths, moving the arms. So as you breathe in, circling the arms out and up. As you breathe out, bringing the hands forwards. Great. And the next time that you breathe out, bringing the hands down towards your heart, we'll pause here. And we're going to come into a lunge position, which is quite a challenge for your balance to get to from here. So you might want to have something nearby you. And if you need to use your hands to find your way there, that's absolutely fine. But if you're up for the balance challenge, we're going to take our right foot and bring it forwards. Great. Looks easy, surprisingly hard, I always think. And then bring your right foot so that you feel as stable as you can. You might find that bringing it slightly further forwards or slightly further back helps you find that stability. Play around until you've got it. Great, and then let's bring our hands towards our hearts if that's available. You might stay with some support of a wall or a chair. And see if you can get a little bit taller as you breathe in. Let your shoulders relax down, let the jaw be soft. And this is already a challenge for the balance, so you might want to stay with this and really focus on finding as much stability as you can, relatively steady. Or you can bring in a little bit of movement to make it more dynamic and a little bit more challenging for the balance. So if you want to do that option, you can take your hands forwards, bring them in contact with each other. And then when you're ready, we're going to stroke this left hand all the way along until we can open up into a twist. As you breathe in, circle that back hand forwards. And then as you breathe out, opening up. Great. Let's do one more round of breath, whether you're steady or moving. And then bring your hands to your heart. Lovely. And again, seeing if you might find your way back to that high kneeling position without using your hands. Great. And we'll change sides, so taking the right foot forwards this time. Play around with the position of that foot until you find the most stability that you can. And let yourself get a little bit taller. Maybe hands at your heart, maybe with some external support. And deciding whether you'd like to stay and explore some stability here, or whether taking the hands forwards might be available. Using an out breath to stroke the right hand and then open up. Using the in breath to circle that hand forwards. Great. Following your own breath. And then bringing hands to heart. Returning to that high kneeling if you can. And then finding your way to any seated position that helps you relax so you can have a little shake out. Great. And then let's find our way towards a standing position from here. So coming up whatever way suits you best today. And we'll have a roll through the spine. So feet are comfortable distance apart. Spread the toes. Let the head drop forwards and slowly follow the weight of your head down. Imagining each part of the spine could move in turn. Soft knees, so you don't need to get stuck in the backs of the legs. And if it feels better for your lower back to support yourself on your thighs with a long spine, then that's always a good option. And if it feels available, you can let yourself come all the way down. A little shake to the head, maybe have some gentle movement here if that helps you to kind of ease in. Rolling your way back out. Have a little shake. Great. Lovely. And then from your standing position, let's find chair pose. So bringing some attention to these creases at the fronts of the hips. Deepening those creases as the hips begin to move back. So the spine's still nice and long, weights in the heels. Maybe your hands stay with the thighs. Maybe they come to your heart. Maybe they lengthen forward. And if they're lengthening forwards, you've always got the option to add some movement with the breath. Exhaling to sweep the hands back and inhaling to sweep them forward. Finding a root for your arms that respects how things are feeling in the shoulders today. And just noticing what's happening around your jaw. So as you come into the more dynamic and challenging movements, is there some tension showing up there? Might it soften? Whenever you are ready to bring this to a close, coming to stand. Okay. And we'll have a look at a crescent pose. So it's another version of that high lunge position. So we're going to step back with the left foot to begin with, about a leg's distance. The front knee is bent and the back leg is going to be working its way towards straight. But if it being totally straight puts any pressure in your lower back, then softly bend your knee until you can find some space in the lower back again. If it's okay for your balance, you can lift that back heel and spin it directly back. But if that throws off your balance so much that there's nothing else is going to be going on, then grounding the foot might be a better option for you. Choose what suits you best. And then as we did on the ground, we've got a few options with the hands. So you might want to explore this steady and see if you can find your balance within this pose as a fairly still shape, either with your hands at support, at your heart, or extending forwards. Or if you want to build in a little bit of movement and challenge for the balance, then we can do the same movement with the hands. So hands forwards, left hand stroking open, and then coming back. Okay. One last round of breath. And then if you'd like to, we could take the hands up. Just coming up gently, because as you come up, you might notice a little bit more of a stretch through this side. And very gently, perhaps reaching gently over towards the right. Breathing through the left-hand side. And then coming back to center and finding both feet back together. Have a little shake out. Lovely. And then we can find that same sequence on the other side. So we're going to step back with the right foot this time. Bending the front knee. Have a feel into the lower back. Notice how much you might need to soften through that back knee to help the lower back feel nice and long and spacious. And then either hands to support, hands to your heart, or hands forwards. A breath or two to find as much stability as you can within this shape. And then if you'd like to come into the movement, then stroking the right hand open, and then sweeping it back as you breathe in. So breathing out to open and twist, and breathing in to return to the start. Last breath here. Great. And then maybe, if it felt okay on the other side, lifting the hands, bringing the left hand down to find your hip, and a gentle, gentle reach towards the left. So opening a little bit through the right hand side, but it doesn't have to be a huge movement. Respect the lower back. And then coming back to center and stepping forwards. Have a little shake through the arms, through the legs. Great. And then I think I might have frozen, but I hope that you can still hear me. We're going to find our way, great, thanks Sue. So we're going to find our way down towards the ground now. Find yourself any comfortable seated position. And we're going to do a seated twist. So either cross-leg or kneeling or legs extended. And bring the right hand towards the heart, the left hand towards the belly. Bring some awareness inside and just notice how things are now, having done a little bit more dynamic movements, some challenges for the balance. So how is the breath? Noticing if there are any thoughts or feelings around about what we've done. Seeing if you can welcome whatever it is, be gentle. And then let's find that twist by taking the bottom hand, the left hand up towards the sky. Take a breath in. And we'll turn the heart gently towards the right. Top hand finding the thigh or the knee of the opposite leg. And then either your hand staying at your heart or maybe resting fingertips on the earth if that helps you to feel a little bit taller. We'll see what suits you best today. And then consciously softening from the top of your head all the way down through your body, anything that doesn't need to be holding on. So check with the eyes, the jaw, the neck, shoulders, the belly, the hips, the legs, the feet, the palms of the hands. And returning to center. And changing the cross of the hands, so left hand to the heart, right hand to the belly. Taking the right hand up to the sky to get tall as you breathe in. And then turning the heart gently as you breathe out. Maybe staying hand to heart, maybe fingertips to the earth. Sliding the attention down from the crown of the head. Offering that invitation to anything that's holding on that doesn't need to let go. And then coming back towards center. Have a little circle through the shoulders, have a shake out through the wrists. Great. And then we'll finish off with a restorative pose. So a nice opening for the side of the body. If you have access to a blanket and a cushion or a couple of cushions, you will be all set. So what we're going to do is, if you have your blanket, we're going to fold it so that it's bring it a little bit closer, kind of soft, squidgy, not too high roll. If you don't have a blanket, a soft cushion or pillow will also do for this, or a towel. We're going to lie this down so that it's supporting the side of the waist. So we'll start off on our left-hand side. So from the armpit to kind of the bottom of the rib cage is supported. And then we want to support the head as well. So maybe a pillow, maybe a couple of pillows, or a pillow folded up. And you might also have a pillow and bending your arm underneath. That's another nice option. So play around with all of the options you've got until you find something that should feel really pretty comfortable. And then to bring some opening into this top side, the right hand side, you've got a few options. So you might keep this hand just rested on your hip and really focusing your attention to the breath in the right side. Or you might find that bringing the hand forwards and resting the hand in front of you feels good. And perhaps resting that hand up and over the head might feel good, but that's only an option to take if your arm can rest comfortably on your head and your hand can rest on the ground. So there's no effort involved in that hand being there. And then once you've found the position that you're going to be resting in, I'm going to rest here for 2 or 3 minutes. And there's nothing else you need to do now. So if you've played around a bit with this position and you can't find somewhere that you're going to settle easily, feel free to come out and rest in any other resting posture that you choose. So if you're resting on your side and you found a place of relative comfort and relative ease, then invite your attention to really settle into the right hand side of your body. The right hand side of your waist, the right rib cage. And see if you can let yourself be really aware of the shifts and changes in sensation in that side of the body as you breathe. The expansion of the in-breath. Settling and gathering of the out-breath. And the beauty of a restorative practice, and sometimes the challenge as well, is that it's a real place of not doing. So you don't need to do anything active here for the body to find a little bit of opening and release where it's needed. You just need to invite yourself again and again to breathe, to be aware of what you can feel, and to accept the support of the ground. In the next few moments, we're going to make our way slowly over to the other side. So you might find that just rolling onto your back and then shifting over so that you're resting on your right is a good way to move. You might want to come up and set yourself up again on the other side from a sitting position, whatever works best for you. You might find, depending what's going on in your shoulders, that a different level of support under your head is useful on this side. So play around until you feel as comfortable as you can do, and then decide whether you'd like that top hand to be resting on your hip, on the ground in front of you, or perhaps coming up and over the head. And then once you've found your way to a place that's going to allow you to settle, see if you can really drop into it. Inviting your breath to bring an awareness to the left-hand side of the body. Notice if the busyness or the urge to be doing is arising, and see if you can be really gentle with that. You don't need to push it away or try to resist it, but we can gently and lovingly invite it to rest back for a moment. So you have this opportunity to pause and to practice not doing. And in the next few moments, we're going to make our way into final relaxation. If you are feeling really comfortable on your side, then you might like to stay resting on your side. Just pull that extra support out from underneath your waist and maybe bring it in between your knees. If you prefer to rest on your back or come up to seated, those are good options too. So choose the place that's going to support you best for relaxation. Make sure you feel warm enough. Being really deliberate about offering yourself the best possible conditions for rest here. You can take all the time you need to find the place that's going to feel best for you. And then once you've found that place, let yourself drop into it. Let your body settle and release from the center all the way out to the edges, to the boundaries of your skin. And know that for the next few minutes, there's nothing else that you need to do. It's being here with your body and your breath. An awareness of sensations as they rise and fall. And then beginning to become aware again of your breath. And taking a few breaths a little bit deeper and slower. Coming right back into your body. And bringing some gentle movement back in, whatever helps you come back. In the next few moments, we're going to make our way towards a seated position if you're ready to move on. So give yourself time to come up gently. Okay. We'll just spend the last few moments exploring a little bit around the jaw. Jan was asking about at the beginning about jaw tension, and we have had some awareness of that through the class, but it's nice to just bring some really kind of direct contact. And we'll do a breathing exercise as well that can help to soften jaw tension. So I'm going to suggest that we do just a little bit of self-massage, which can be really exploratory. So I'm going to make some suggestions about things that might feel nice, but you can be really guided by how it feels for you. If it doesn't feel good, you can let it go. If there's other things that you know might feel nice, then do that. But if you bring some contact to the kind of hinge of the jaw, it's quite high, it's next to the ears. And if you put a little bit of pressure there and just open and close the jaw a couple of times, so you can get a sense of where that is. Great. And then just bringing some gentle touch, maybe little circles down through the whole length of the jaw. Great. Once you get down towards the chin, you can make a little kind of pinching action with the knuckle of your index finger and your thumb, and gently pinch your way up from the center back out, and then just rake your fingers through the hair a little bit so that you can invite the scalp to relax a little bit. Great. And then let the hands rest down, and we'll do a breathing exercise which is sometimes called hummingbird breath, and it's one of the things that is quite nice about practicing this way is it's one of those things that you can feel often the first time you do it, you feel quite self-conscious because it involves making a sound. But if you're alone at home, you can really let rip with this. You don't need to worry about anyone else hearing you. So the way that we do it is we breathe in and out through the nose, but with the out breath, we also hum at the same time. And it's impossible to do that with your jaw clenched, basically. So you really have to relax the jaw to do it. And it also gently extends our out breath, which is really supportive for relaxation. Generally, when we're more stressed, our out breath is a little bit shorter, and when we're more relaxed, it becomes longer. So kind of gently inviting it to lengthen without any force tends to support us with relaxation. So I'll show you kind of how it looks, but you just find a nice steady seat and then take a breath in. And you don't need to kind of force the exhalation to extend, you just allow it to be its own natural length. So in breath. And if you keep doing that, as long as it feels comfortable for a few moments, and really consciously soften the jaw, you feel the vibrations around the lips and in the mouth. And And then when you're ready to bring that to a close, just allow the humming to drop away and let the breath just be however it needs to be. So the breath returns to its natural rhythm. And let yourself notice and be interested in what is left over inside after that. You might notice kind of tingling or buzzing around the mouth or the jaw. And then we'll bring the practice to a close. So finding a gesture with your hands that helps you bring a sense of completion, maybe hands together or in contact with the body somewhere. And thank yourself for taking the time to practice this morning, for being with yourself and your body. And think about taking a sense of spaciousness and support into the rest of your day and on into the week ahead.